Hi friends, it's Salt. If you're new here, this channel is all about salt. Salt is the alchemical element of transformation. Salt cleanses, it heals, and it transmutes energy just like you do. This channel finds the rare archetypes who move through life differently. So if you found this, I'm really honored to have you and really just be one of the few who gets to see and reflect you properly. Today's message is complicated, I believe. It took me kind of a day to sit with this. That's why I couldn't make a post yesterday, because I was trying to understand it a little bit better. I already instinctively feel some of the reactions I'm going to get from this. So this beginning part is very important in terms of identifying if this message is for you or not. A lot of people are going to have some resistance to this because they might feel they are trapped in something where they can't rest due to circumstances outside of their control. I think for those who feel there isn't an option for them right now, this message might not be for you. This message might be more timely for you once you feel less trapped situationally. To those who do feel hopeless or trapped in something, which I do see happening eventually, but maybe not in your current timeline. So I think the first step for those who feel situationally trapped in something that is exhausting them or in a hopeless situation is to first and foremost get out of survival mode first. That might be to change your environment in some way or to change the mindset of being helpless within it. I'm sorry if that feels unsympathetic to your situation. I do have a lot of empathy and can feel for you, but this isn't a message for you. I don't think I have answers for how to get you unstuck personally. I think you have to get unstuck and then reapproach my message from a more grounded place first. There might be a message for you later about maybe if spirit can help explain how to escape from survival mode. So leave comments if that's something you need. But this one isn't it. And I'm being called to say that very clearly to you so there's not confusion, first and foremost. This message specifically is for those who have some ability to rest. They either have some leisure time available to them in some way, they feel they have free will in the matter, but they are more so questioning why each choice feels wrong. Like, for example, resting feels wrong, and then also not resting also feels wrong. So in other words, I'll say this again. If you feel trapped by a situation that is perpetually exhausting you, that you feel you cannot control, this message is not for you. But if you feel you can't rest right, or you're confused about the actual rest you need, this is for you. Just a reminder too, I'm making an effort to put a lot of goodies in the description now. So no need to hear what I say perfectly or for me to relay the cards that I pull super eloquently. I just find explaining the cards takes too long. So it's more efficient to throw that all in the description. But let me know if you have any feedback for that or if you guys hate that. I'm open to all of your opinions, of course, always. So now that we filtered who this is for and who's still here, this collective that's craving momentum, I sense there's a lot of resonance that already exists here. So you have no issue, in other words, finding a spark. You have that exists inside of you. The issue is just moving forward with your sparks. So there is a power deep down within you, like you feel ideas. You feel the resonance of those ideas. You're naturally in this like electric mental space. And that's why the lack of momentum feels so frustrating and is depleting you, is you basically have like all this magic inside of you that exists, but it has nowhere to go. And you're getting stuck in that momentum space. So it would make sense logically, since this collective is very logical, very cerebral, very smart, very intellectual. It would make more logical sense if you were dull or if you didn't have so much inside of you that you wanted to do, because then that will make sense why you can't do anything, right? Is usually people who lack momentum don't have a lot of desire. And so it kind of goes hand in hand. It makes sense. But That's where a lot of the internal conflict is coming from the group of people I'm talking today, is they're at war with their body and their mind. So the first message I'm getting for those listening today is about, this is kind of like very absolutist, but Spirit is kind of suggesting that it's never going to feel peaceful all the time. This feels specific to you and your gifts. Like, you're not doomed to this friction forever. I don't want you to hear the message that way, but there is a need to understand that this desire to have this perfect, peaceful situation is never going to come simply because of how big your internal world really is. The human body cannot easily keep up with what's going on in how large your mind and internal cerebral space is. So it's important that you know right off the bat that indefinite peace is not an option for you, simply because of that large disconnect. I think Spirit is trying to say this in a kind way where you don't keep getting discouraged when you feel that friction. I think Spirit is just saying here, it's inevitable. And to understand it comes from how large your inner world is and how the physical body cannot keep up with that. The very human physical body. I think there's this creation of something feels off space for you that exists because there's a dissonance here between where you crave momentum, but also crave rest. So again, this mind versus body theme is really important in this reading. I'm being called to highlight how the disconnection shows in the body through a very specific example. So stay with me here. You could experience a lot of gut related issues as a result to this dissonance. This could be like your eating has a lot of reactions. Like you maybe feel you don't digest things properly, or there's some sort of disconnect with what you want to eat and what your body allows. Something's going on here with like digestion. I'm being shown gut immobility or slowed gut reactions. There's like some sort of mobility that's slowed here. So this is what happens, I think, when there is a disconnection like this that's so large. I'm being kind of guided to explain you'll create spikes of mental momentum, right? So like you have this huge, beautiful, magical mental space that has so much electricity and passion that your body responds to that, since it's very human, with a fight or flight activation and an adrenal response, which is like, okay, we have to keep up with all of this passion. And once that settles, your body kind of like catches up with its natural state, like its very human state, which slows digestion as a response, is what I'm being kind of guided to explain. I don't know if I'm wording this very well, but this dissonance space is causing it because your logical mind is working at a pace your body can't keep up with. The highs, it feels good, it feels high, it feels activated because it's an adrenal response that your body is just adapted to over time. And then when the lows kick in, it does the right work to balance and find equilibrium again. This might be why you experience, if you do, gut issues infrequently or not consistently, is it's very much just reactive to that high and low space of you have this idea, you have this passion, it has nowhere to go, it activates, and then your body finds its balance again, right? It's just trying to keep up with that mental space. There's just that dissonance there. So now Spirit is highlighting a way to distinguish between pushing through when to really rest, because I am getting pulls that this collective doesn't really know how, but it's not their fault because this dissonance is so large that it almost makes sense that they've created the automation that they have. And let me explain that. So since there is a dissonance with the mind and body here that's so large, like a gap that exists, it might be more common that you feel that drag back, that you feel that push when you have momentum, when you have that spark that comes up. This may be why you feel others move forward more steadily and you have a lot more weight on you, like a lot more tiredness that comes out of nowhere, or you're just kind of being pulled back in some way. You have a heavier weight on you than others do, which doesn't mean that you're less than them at all. In fact, I feel this is the result of being more powerful in some way. So stay with me here. It's important to respond to the actual rest your body needs. So there's an important need here that I'm being shown or an important understanding here where you need to understand when you need actual rest and when you don't, because when you're fighting the actual rest, it's compounding over time, essentially. So the first example is sometimes you might feel in your body foggy. You might feel there's a lot of mental noise, a lot of clutter. This is just your mental space moving too quickly, is what I'm being guided to explain. And you're being pulled back from your body. So this is a very common space you might exist in. What I'm being guided to explain is when there is this foggy space, this mental space where you don't feel on top of it, you don't feel clear, you're able to push through this space without damage. This is like your 90% space, I'll say. I'm just giving that as like an example. Your other 10% space is you'll feel this like stillness in your body. Like your body can't keep up, but you can articulate and you can think very clearly. Like your mind is working, but you feel heaviness. This is when you don't push through, but this is when you do the most, because I'm being shown that you put value over that mental space more than you do that physical space sometimes. But it's actually the reversal of that. So when you feel stillness in your body, but you feel like you can think clearly, that is the time to slow down and to rest. That is the most important and crucial time that I'm being guided to explain. So, very specific message today. I'm kind of sensing that this collective is just overall frustrated by how their momentum is dragged down by these things. It does feel like, 90% of the time you're in that mental fog, and then 10% of the time you're in that physical fog. But I see the more you ignore that physical space, the louder it will get over time. So the first real step here is to take that physical rest very seriously, and maybe not necessarily always push through the mental fog, but just know it's not going to compound over time. I think there's two things here. It's knowing that it's not going to compound over time, this like mental fog. And then also knowing that the reason you feel more weighed down is because your ideas are just a lot larger. And there is that disconnect there. So it's coming to peace with that part. And then also taking this physical part very seriously is what I'm being guided to explain the next steps here are to getting out of this place where you feel you can't have genuine rest. And the confusion, I think, is because you're constantly feeling weighed down. So now you're just compartmentalizing it all to be, okay, I pushed through all of this, but it's very clear that physical one is the one that's very important. So I see it also being very easy to mentally compartmentalize them both together because of this collective and just their gifts as a whole. So because they happen so frequently, you're able to push through more often than you should. So you can't clearly see when the physical ones emerge since you're just used to ignoring or bypassing. And I think there is some space to have here where bypassing is just a part of your struggles in this lifetime, is because your mental world is so large. You do kind of have to bypass that pushback that you're going to have, or that struggle space, until you can push through it. But that physical space where your body is asking for stillness needs to be acknowledged. And that's the message here today. This last part is, I think some of you already intuitively know to do this, but keep leaving comments. The comments themselves do not have to be anything specific or personal to you. Think of these as energetic nudges for me to align with your energy. It helps me channel for you more efficiently, and I want to be able to do that. I read each and every one always, and I am so thankful for all of you. So, cheers, friends.